Hi, my name's Serena. They called it a joke when my sister hurled a Coke can at me in the break room, when she filmed it, when she posted it online with the caption, "From trailer to cubicle." That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the silence that followed, the laughter behind my back, the HR report claiming I was emotionally unstable. And when I looked up for support, all I saw were the faces of my own parents, applauding her on stage while pretending I didn't exist. How do you survive when the people who should protect you hand you over instead? I arrived at the office early that Monday morning, hoping to grab a moment of stillness before the noise started. The glass walls reflected the usual energy: rapid keystrokes, bright coffee cups, the hum of two loud earbuds. 3 years in, and yet some mornings still felt like the first day. I had my spot. The corner desk by the window. It wasn't grand, but it was mine. I was halfway through logging in when the elevator chimed behind me. I didn't look up right away. But then a familiar voice chirped, "Guess who made the cut?" My stomach tightened. Celine. She walked in like she owned the place. Designer shoes clicking, hair glossy, smile wide. She waved too eagerly, loud enough for others to notice. "Hey, sis!" She hadn't told me she got the job. I'd recommended her resume during a hiring spree months ago, assuming she'd be placed in another department. But no, there she was, being shown to a desk not 10 feet from mine. I blinked, forcing a smile as she made herself at home behind me. Same team, same circle. "Small world," she said, sliding into her seat like this had been her plan all along. At first, she played the sister act well, over-friendly in front of others, performing support. "Serena helped me so much," she told our manager. "I'm just trying to live up to her example." But every compliment came with a catch. Alone, she leaned over and whispered, "Still with the cardigans? Didn't Mom try to burn that one?" I kept my voice calm. "It's comfortable," she chuckled. "That's one word for it." I didn't reply. Instead, I reached into my drawer and touched a folded piece of paper taped inside. Mom's old note. "People who scream are often scared. You don't have to match their volume to be heard." I used to believe that. Lunch came. I sat quietly in the lounge, skimming emails, sipping lukewarm tea. That's when I heard it, snickering from across the room. "Oh my God, is that her?" I glanced up. 2 interns huddled over a phone. One pointed. "Look at the caption." They didn't realize I could hear them. Or maybe they didn't care. I opened Instagram. There it was. A photo of my shoes, scuffed but clean, tucked under my desk. My tote bag, a decade old, lovingly mended. The post was from Celine, captioned, "From trailer to cubicle, and still smells like it." 73 likes, all from colleagues. I didn't feel the tears, just the burn behind my eyes, like acid trying to push out. I turned off my screen, took a breath. Then I texted her. That post crossed a line. No reply. Just the little "seen" icon. I didn't bring it up in the family group chat that night. Dad had sent another blurry photo of their dog in the backyard. Celine replied with 6 laughing emojis. I said nothing. Logged off early. At home, I wrote in my journal, "The snake isn't dangerous when it bites. It's dangerous when it smiles first." A few hours later, as I prepped for the next day, my screen blinked with a new Slack message. Subject: Feedback requested on employee dynamic with recent hire. Celine Ray. I clicked the Slack message without thinking, just a reflex. But as soon as the thread opened, my stomach dropped. Feedback requested on employee dynamic with recent hire, Celine Ray. There was no body text, just a link to a form and a polite line about fostering positive team integration. I didn't click the form, not yet. I just stared at the screen. 2 days passed without a word from HR after that. But something shifted in the air. You know that feeling when people lower their voices just a little too much as you walk past? Or how they switch the topic, not even subtly, once you step into the break room? Wednesday morning started like any other. But by 10, a new email pinged into my inbox. It wasn't meant for me. A junior designer had mistakenly forwarded an internal message chain my way, CCing the wrong Serena. Curious, I opened it. Then I wished I hadn't. It was a thread between 4 people from the PR team, 3 of whom sat just feet from my desk. The tone was light, jokey. At first, I thought it was just memes. Then I saw my name. Serena's one of those hires, family discount. Yeah, charity case vibes. Poor thing still carries that ancient tote like it's vintage. Can't hate her, she tries. But let's be real, she's no Celine. Celine's response. She's sweet. Not really leadership material, though. I should have taught her how to network instead of algebra. I didn't reply. I didn't even blink. I took a screenshot, forwarded it to my personal email, and archived the entire chain into a private folder labeled Insurance. Then I deleted the message from the company server. That same afternoon, during the team coffee break, I heard Celine's voice float across the lounge like perfume with poison in it. I've known her since diapers, she said, loud, clear. She was always off. Doesn't play well with others, Laughter followed. I walked past them with my mug half full, head held up. No one looked me in the eye. I didn't stop walking. I didn't respond. But my chest burned. Back at my desk, I muted the Slack pings, opened a blank document, and typed one line at the top. They want you small. Quiet. Easy to dismiss. Don't give them what they want. That night, our parents were in full celebratory mode on the family group chat. Dad shared a blurry picture of Mom holding up a bouquet Celine had sent after her first client presentation. Proud of our star, he typed. Celine responded with a gif of a woman blowing kisses. I watched the little hearts float up the screen and then disappear. No one asked me how my week was going. No one mentioned the post or the email. When people forget to include you, they're not being forgetful. They're being intentional. They're telling you who they've chosen. I didn't log off right away. Instead, I clicked my profile in Slack and edited my display name. Just my initials now. Nothing else. Then I began removing my things from my desk, slowly. Monday, I took home the framed photo of my dog. Tuesday, the succulent by my monitor. Wednesday, the coffee mug from our first office retreat. One item at a time, no announcement, no drama. This wasn't surrender. It was preparation. Monday came with the kind of quiet that didn't feel like peace. I arrived on time, expecting the usual low buzz of pre-meeting chatter, but the floor was oddly still. No music playing from Mark's desk. No clack of heels from Lauren. Just the sound of wheels. Boxes being rolled on dollies past cubicles. I slowed when I turned the corner. My desk, my little corner by the window, was gone. In its place stood a stack of flat-packed furniture, one of those whiteboards with half-erased notes from another team, and a jumble of plastic bins. My chair had vanished. My nameplate, the one I taped back together after it cracked during the first week, was missing. I stood there for a moment, not shocked, just hollow. A team assistant, Jen, passed by carrying a printer tray. She looked up, blinked like she'd forgotten I existed, and said, "Oh, Serena, right? I think you were reassigned. Logistics or something. That's what the list said." "The list," I repeated, mostly to myself. She kept walking. No one had informed me. No email, no conversation. Just a silent migration. I found my new spot tucked away on the second floor. Not in an office, not even in a proper cubicle. It was what they called the resource room, though it looked more like the supply closet's cousin. Gray walls, no windows, a folding table instead of a desk. The only sound was the click of the printer warming up every few minutes. I sat, opened my laptop. The blinking cursor on a blank screen stared back like it was daring me to type something. I didn't. I just sat. Around lunchtime, I made my way back up to the old floor, not because I expected conversation, but to grab the rest of my things. They'd been neatly boxed for me. A mug, the photo of my dog, and a file folder with my notes from the Jackson campaign. No one looked up when I walked through. I wasn't angry, just detached. On my way out, I passed by Celine's new desk. Bigger, central. She was mid-laugh, sipping something green and expensive through a glass straw. Her laughter stopped just long enough to glance at me, raise an eyebrow like I was the one who didn't belong. I didn't stop walking. Back downstairs, I set the box beside my folding table. I reached into my bag, pulled out a portable drive, and began copying my files. All my work, every draft, email, presentation, note. I encrypted each folder and backed them up to a second cloud location under a password only I knew. Not because I planned to leave, but because they'd already started erasing me. I wasn't going to let them finish the job. There's something eerie about being moved without anyone saying a word. It's like being edited out of a photo while still standing in the room. Not fired, not reprimanded, just displaced. Some departures don't need a door. You just get moved so far, you forget the way back. Later that afternoon, I minimized the file window and glanced at the time. 5 minutes to 4. Most people were packing up early, thanks to the casual closeout initiative they pushed every quarter. I opened my calendar, thinking maybe I'd draft a list of things to work on for the next client cycle. And that's when I saw it. A new meeting invite. PR Strategy Brainstorm, lead, Celine Ray. I didn't click it right away. My hand hovered over the mouse, then dropped. I stared at the invite like it was a mistake. Then I remembered, mistakes get corrected. This was deliberate. I didn't open the meeting invite that night. I didn't need to. Just seeing her name, bolded, on a title that used to be mine, was enough. I closed my laptop and let the silence settle. By Thursday afternoon, the PR strategy brainstorm was in full swing. I sat in the back of the glass conference room, one of many, with my notebook open but untouched. Celine stood at the front with a remote in hand, her slides perfectly polished. Her voice was smooth, controlled, confident. The same tone she used in high school when she lied to teachers about helping me study. I recognized the deck immediately, not just the layout, but the phrasing, the client insights, even the call to action language at the end. It was mine. A pitch I'd been refining for 3 weeks, shared in an early draft with her when she asked for a little help prepping. And now, it was her lead project. No mention of me. Not a word. The others nodded along, impressed. She closed with a flourish. This was a strategy we co-developed recently, and I'm excited to roll it out next quarter. Co-developed. She looked right at me as she said it, smiled like she'd just handed me a bouquet instead of a theft. Applause followed. Light, but real. Afterward, I didn't cause a scene. I didn't call her out. I waited. Let her enjoy the moment. Then I walked past her near the refreshment table, leaned in just enough, and said, "Stealing thunder won't keep you from the storm." She didn't flinch, just smiled. "You didn't look like you were going to use it," she replied. Her tone was smug, but her eyes were watching me too closely, waiting for a crack. I didn't give her one. I walked away. At 3:15, I got a message from HR. Melis Quaid asked me to stop by. The conversation began with pleasantries, as if we were discussing snacks at a potluck. Then the phrasing turned sterile. "There's been some feedback," Melis said. "Concerns about collaboration. A reluctance to integrate fully with team dynamics, particularly during transitions." I didn't blink. "Transitions?" She folded her hands. "New hires? Shifts in leadership structure?" I knew exactly what she meant. I paused for a moment, then asked, "Would you like me to submit examples of contributions I've made? Emails, project logs, deliverables? Or is silence easier to document?" That got her attention. Her expression stiffened, then softened just enough to hide it. "This isn't punitive," she said. "We're just trying to support all parties involved. Sometimes a short wellness break gives people space to reset." A break, disguised as concern. I smiled. "Noted." I left without slamming the door, without sighing, without anything. Just walked out, slow and deliberate, letting my heels echo all the way down the hallway. Outside, I sat in my car and stared out the windshield for a while. The clouds had thickened overhead, graying the afternoon. Then I picked up my phone and texted Joran. "It's shifting." He replied almost instantly. "Stay the course. They're showing you their cards." That evening, I didn't eat much. Instead, I sat at my desk at home and opened a new document. Title bar blinking. I typed 3 words. Observations for truth. By Friday, everything was still shifting, but not in my direction. People were adapting to the new pecking order without much effort. Celine wasn't subtle about it anymore. She didn't need to be. The room adjusted itself around her like she was furniture that had always belonged. I stood in the cafeteria line, clutching a salad I didn't want, half listening to the 2 younger associates behind me chat about someone's podcast episode. Then one of them tapped my shoulder lightly. "Hey, sorry, is she your friend from college?" I turned, confused. "Celine." She nodded toward the corner where my sister sat confidently, mid-laugh with a group of coworkers. "You two seem close?" I kept my voice steady. "That's my sister." The pause that followed was so thin, I almost missed it. "Oh, wow. You two are very different." I didn't answer, just paid for my food and walked toward the only open seat. Across the room, nowhere near anyone I'd spoken to more than twice all week. As I sat, I saw Aaron Vale join Celine's table. Aaron used to sit next to me during lunch. We'd trade notes on client pitches and once shared a bottle of ibuprofen during a marathon presentation week. But today, he leaned toward Celine like they'd been partners since day one. I couldn't hear every word, but the tone was enough. He told a story from an old project I'd led. He laughed at his own punchline, then said something that made Celine cover her mouth in mock horror. She laughed harder than she needed to. "She means well," she added loudly enough for half the room to hear. "She just can't seem to land." I didn't move. I didn't touch my fork. I watched the dressing congeal on my untouched salad and thought, this is what erasure looks like. It doesn't happen in one blow. It happens in echoes. After lunch, I walked the long way back to my desk, avoiding the main hallway. At my station, I opened my archived messages with Aaron, our past conversations, Slack chats, shared notes. Before Celine arrived, there were check-ins, banter, mutual edits. After she joined, just silence. "Loyalty in the office isn't about truth," I wrote in my journal that night. "It's about proximity to the power line." That evening, instead of reaching out, I updated my internal tracker and changed the file permissions. My project deck, the one Celine claimed to have co-developed, was renamed and encrypted. I backed it up to a private folder titled Untouched. No more hoping someone would vouch for me. That version of me, the one who trusted by default, had left quietly the same day my nameplate disappeared. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done waiting for a rescue. Later, I sat by the window with tea growing cold in my hands. Outside, the city moved as usual. Nothing had changed for the world, but everything had shifted inside me. Just after 10, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "You're not crazy. I saw what they did. Meet me tomorrow." I stared at the screen. Finally, a signal from the silence. Not rescue, just proof I hadn't imagined it all. The following Monday started like a stage sitcom. Everyone smiling a little too hard, colors brighter than usual, an email from HR in our inboxes wishing us a happy team energy day. I stepped into the break room just in time to hear someone reading off trivia questions into a mic, like this was a school pep rally. Bagels and fruit trays lined the counters. Our VP handed out gift cards for answering random facts about our company history. I lingered near the coffee machine, trying not to be noticed, and that's when Celine's voice cut through. "Hey, Serena," she called out, turning slightly on her chair to make sure I was in full view. "Want to answer the poverty category? I heard you majored in that." The laughter wasn't explosive. It was sharper, controlled, the kind that knows where the line is and enjoys watching someone else cross it. I didn't flinch. I didn't speak. I just locked eyes with her for one brief moment. Then I turned and walked away. Behind me, the voices hushed. I reached for the paper towels near the microwave, pretending I had something to clean. I didn't, but my hands needed to move. From across the room, I heard Celine again. "Ah, don't be mad, sis. Here, hydrate." I turned in time to see her toss a can of Coke across the space. I wish I could say I caught it. I didn't. It slammed against my forearm and exploded against the printer beside me, spraying the floor, the wall, my sweater. My breath caught, not from pain, but from the suddenness. Silence. Then a gasp. A phone snapped. I saw it. A phone raised, recording the aftermath. Another one, probably already on TikTok. I didn't say a word. I grabbed a few more paper towels and began blotting my sleeve. Celine smirked. "Guess your thrift store chic isn't waterproof." Still, I didn't react. I walked past her, slowly, calmly, toward my locker near the back exit. The soda was seeping through my sweater, cold against my skin. Just as I reached the locker, I heard her one more time. "You'll always be trailer trash no matter how many spreadsheets you touch." This time, no one laughed. The room was frozen. I opened my locker, pulled out my gym hoodie, changed silently, tossed the soaked sweater into a trash bag I kept for emergencies. The Coke had even hit my shoes. I cleaned up in the small restroom near HR. No one followed, no one checked. I wasn't shaking, I wasn't crying, I was clear. By mid-afternoon, I was in a rideshare home, my bag tucked by my feet, still sticky in places. The car was quiet. Outside the window, the city kept moving. My phone buzzed. It was a link, anonymous. The clip was already online. The caption read, "Office goes wild. This girl's own sister went off." I watched the first 3 seconds, just long enough to hear Selena's voice ring out clear. "You'll always be trailer trash." I closed it. I didn't watch again. At home, I showered, scrubbed the soda off my arms, the smell out of my skin. Later that night, wrapped in my robe, I opened my laptop and stared at the blank desktop screen. Then I clicked open a folder I'd only half prepared before. I renamed it Leverage. By Wednesday, the video had taken on a life of its own. The company still hadn't issued a statement. HR sent a vague email reminding everyone about community values and internal decorum. But no one said Celine's name. No one said mine either. I kept my head down and waited. Not for justice, just for the next move. At 11:42 a.m., my inbox pinged. A meeting request. From Milas Quaid, subject, check-in regarding ongoing concerns. Time, 2:00 p.m. I showed up 5 minutes early. The blinds were drawn. Milas smiled too softly, her fingers tapping her pen against a closed notepad. "Thanks for coming," she said. "We just want to ensure you're supported during this time." The phrasing was so practiced, I almost admired it. "There have been some concerns," she continued, folding her hands. "Feedback indicating heightened emotional volatility, difficulty integrating, resistance to team cohesion." I didn't speak. She leaned forward, just enough to seem maternal. "It's not disciplinary, Serena. We're simply suggesting you consider a short wellness break, maybe a week, just some space." "To do what?" I asked, calm. "Reflect," she offered. "Reset. Possibly reconnect with a mental health provider." I smiled too. "So, I'm unstable for not reacting while being publicly humiliated?" She hesitated. "That's not what anyone's saying. It's what they're implying." Silence. "I'd like a copy of the report," I added. Her tone shifted. "It's an internal HR matter. I'd like a redacted copy for legal review." She gave me one eventually. 3 pages, half of it blacked out. But one line remained untouched. "Serena's behavior has raised concern among her peers, possibly due to emotional instability or unresolved past trauma. They weren't trying to fix anything. They were trying to file it away." I left without another word. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, going through my files. I wasn't looking for proof. I already had it. I was looking for the pattern, the timeline. At 8:07 p.m., a new message appeared. Subject: don't let them rewrite it. No greeting, no signature, just an attachment. I hesitated, then opened it. Elise, the intern. I remembered her. Quiet, always watching, rarely speaking unless directly asked. The document she sent was meticulous, date-stamped screenshots of Slack conversations, including ones I hadn't seen. Metadata from photo files proving Selene had planned the coke stunt a full day in advance. Even screen recordings of hallway interactions. Time, place, who laughed, who filmed. She had been watching. She had kept everything. I replied, "You saw it?" The response came seconds later. Everyone did. They just didn't want to say anything. I didn't thank her. I didn't say anything else. Instead, I downloaded the file, encrypted it, uploaded it to a separate drive, and labeled it Protection V1. They wanted silence. I'd give them a record so loud they couldn't delete it. The next morning, before anyone else was online, I received a calendar invite. Subject: closed review session, disciplinary consideration. Time: Friday, 9 a.m. I accepted it, then opened a fresh document and typed the first heading. Phase 2. Friday morning arrived with the kind of stillness that felt manufactured, like someone had vacuumed the air out of the building just enough to keep everything upright, but off balance. I walked into the executive wing without pausing. My shoes tapped softly across the tile as I passed the receptionist, who pretended not to recognize me. The glass-walled conference room was already half full. My lease was seated at the far end, flanked by 2 HR reps and a man from legal I'd only seen in quarterly policy webinars. Selena stood near the coffee tray, cup in hand, looking down at her phone like this was any other meeting. I sat at the end opposite her. No greetings, no nods. Milas cleared her throat, eyes already on the printout in front of her. Thank you all for coming. We're here to address a pattern of behavior that has raised internal concern. In particular, we'll be discussing matters related to team cohesion, leadership engagement, and code of conduct. Before we continue, I interrupted, my voice level, I'd like to share something. It's short. I plugged in a flash drive and opened a media file. The title bar read, Incident Recording, Timestamp Verified. I hit play. There was no intro music, no edits, just the raw footage. Celine's voice filled the room. "Aw, don't be mad, sis. Here, hydrate." The Coke can flew. The impact was clear. So was the spray of soda, the quiet gasp, and, seconds later, the sentence that landed like a weapon. "You'll always be trailer trash no matter how many spreadsheets you touch." The room was silent. I paused the video, looked up. One of the execs had closed their laptop. Another leaned forward, hands folded tightly. Selene looked frozen, her face unreadable for the first time. "This," I said quietly, "is one of several files I've compiled. I've already submitted this video, along with supporting documentation, to corporate ethics and my legal counsel." I let that settle, then added with the same calm, "Also, some of you may not know, I am Serena Adeline Maddox. Yes, that Maddox." A shift. The legal rep turned his head slowly. One HR assistant's pen stopped moving mid-sentence. Celine's mouth opened. "Is this some kind of setup?" I turned my head, met her eyes for 1 second, said nothing. The head of legal cleared his throat. "Let's pause here. HR, please halt all further discussion until internal review is completed." Melis tried to speak, but no one listened. The weight had moved. I stood, gathered my things, walked toward the door. Behind me, Selene muttered something too low to catch. I didn't care what it was. The elevator ride down felt longer than usual. But when I stepped out into the parking garage, sunlight hit my face and I didn't flinch. I pulled out my phone and typed, "They saw it." Seconds later, Joran replied, "Good. Let me know when you're ready for phase 2. As I reached my car, I noticed Celine standing nearby. Alone, no phone, no smirk. She wasn't smiling anymore. That scared me more than when she was. Celine didn't say a word at first. She just stood there, rooted beside my car like her shoes had fused with the asphalt. As I approached, I saw her eyes, red, unblinking. The same eyes that had once rolled during every childhood disagreement now looked empty. "You didn't have to destroy everything," she said, voice brittle but sharp. "You really think you win now?" I unlocked my car, opened the door slowly. "You did that," I said. "All I did was turn on the lights." She stepped forward, a little too fast. "I didn't mean for it to go that far." I met her gaze, steady. "You didn't think it would matter that much." And then I got in. I didn't look back when I pulled away. I drove out of the garage, past the yellow striped exit arm, past the lies, past her silence that had turned to noise too late. By the time I got home, a company-wide HR email had landed in every inbox. Subject: Ethics compliance and recent staffing changes. The memo was short. Cold. Clinical. Effective immediately. The following individuals are no longer employed at this company due to violations of internal conduct policies and workplace safety standards. Celine Ray, Aaron Vale, Bryn Matthews, Logan Chen. 4 names. All of them familiar. All of them guilty by action or by complicity. No details were given, but everyone knew. By 4 p.m., Celine's employee profile had vanished from the company portal. Her Instagram was locked. Her last post, our mother's dog in the backyard, was scrubbed of comments. I sat by the window with a glass of water, watching the cars trickle out of the parking garage like nothing had happened. Later that evening, I stopped by the lobby to grab a file from the print desk. I didn't expect anyone to be there, but as the elevator dinged open, I saw Bryn. She stood near the mailboxes, arms crossed, a manila envelope tucked under one elbow. Her eyes caught mine. "I didn't say anything," she said quietly, "because I thought someone else would." I didn't hesitate. "And now you know what that silence cost." She didn't reply, just nodded and stepped aside. At home, I opened my laptop and closed a tab I hadn't looked at since Monday. Legal, backup evidence. I didn't need it anymore, not right now. It wasn't peace, but it was something like power, and I'd never held it this quietly before. As I powered down, my phone buzzed once. A new email from Joran. Subject: Press wants a statement. Your call. I stared at the screen. This wasn't about going public, but maybe it was time they heard it from me. Not about me. Monday morning came soft and quiet. The kind of quiet that wasn't peace, but something simpler. Completion. I didn't dress to impress that day. No makeup, no blowout. Just jeans, a white blouse, and my worn flats. I carried a single box, light enough to hold with one hand, heavy enough to close a chapter. The receptionist didn't ask where I was going. She just nodded as I walked through the main doors and toward what used to be my desk. My nameplate was gone. In its place was a clean plastic plaque with someone else's name, a name I didn't recognize. I set the box down gently. Inside, my badge, a copy of the original strategy deck, a single sticky note that read, "This was my seat. Now it's my silence." I slid the badge and note into the center of the empty desk, closed the box, and walked away without glancing back. As I reached the exit hallway, a voice stopped me. "Hey!" I turned. Celine stood near the stairwell. Her hair was unbrushed, her blazer wrinkled. She held something in her hand, wrinkled, torn. It was a birthday letter, the one I wrote to her when I was 14. The paper had creases so deep it looked like it had been folded and unfolded dozens of times. "You were always the perfect one," she said, voice cracking. "I just wanted to be like you." Then she lifted the paper slightly. "Did you mean this crap, or was it all part of the act?" I didn't flinch. "I meant it," I said, "until you made me stop." She blinked, waited. I didn't add more. I didn't take the letter. I turned and walked toward the glass exit doors. The sky outside was that soft blue that only shows up after a storm, clear but still damp around the edges. I didn't look back. Some stories don't need rewriting. They need closure. By the time I was in the elevator, the box was already sitting unnoticed. One of the interns spotted it first, curious. She opened the lid, pulled out the note, and read it aloud. This was my seat. Now it's my silence. No one laughed. Not this time. That night, I sat by my apartment window with a lukewarm cup of tea. I didn't replay the scene in my head. I didn't question whether I'd said enough or too much. I just watched the sun dip below the buildings, listened to the faint buzz of downtown, and let the quiet settle in my chest. My phone buzzed once. Another email from the press. Subject, final call. Do you want to tell your story? I hadn't planned to speak, but maybe silence had done its job. Maybe now, it was time. I replied to the email with 2 words. I'll attend. The family appreciation dinner was scheduled for Saturday evening at the downtown Hilton Ballroom, a glass and gold kind of place, all shine and soft music. The invite had been sent to the full staff list, and my name must have been included by mistake. But I didn't correct them. I didn't decline. I didn't go to be seen. I went to be clear. I arrived a few minutes early, alone. I wore black. Not for drama, just for simplicity. Something about dark fabric absorbs attention rather than invites it. Inside, the room buzzed with corporate cheer. Too loud, too bright, too curated. Waitstaff passed around champagne flutes. Someone's kid ran past my leg, laughing. I stood near the back, beside a potted plant no one noticed. The lights dimmed, and a spotlight found the MC. A polished woman in a red sheath dress, clutching cue cards. She welcomed everyone, cracked a joke about long hours and caffeine addictions, and then launched into the evening's theme. Tonight, we celebrate the families behind the faces, she said. The parents, the spouses, the siblings who stood quietly, proudly, behind our brightest stars. Names began rolling on a giant projection screen, one after another. Applause rose in waves. And now, a special thank you to the Ray family for raising not just 1 but 2 talented women. Please welcome Mr. and Mrs. Ray. I didn't move. My parents walked to the stage. My mother waved modestly. My father beamed like a man finally getting the applause he always thought he deserved. My name wasn't mentioned. Not once. And we thank the families, the MC concluded, who stood beside greatness, nurtured brilliance, and never wavered in belief. I clapped. Once, then stopped. I didn't want to be remembered anymore. I wanted to be correctly forgotten. When the lights came back up, I turned to leave. Skipped dessert. Skipped the staged photo ops. Near the exit, a voice stopped me. Serena, I turned. It was Marcus, VP of Strategy. One of the few who'd never laughed when Celine did. You should have been up there, he said quietly. You were the one with integrity. I gave him a small nod. Nothing more. Outside, the night air felt honest, brisk. I didn't check my phone right away, just walked slowly through the parking lot, heels clicking in steady rhythm. As I reached my car, the screen lit up. Calendar alert, media interview, confirmed for Monday, 8 a.m. I hadn't told anyone I'd scheduled it, not even Joran. But there it was. I had nothing left to prove. But maybe I had something left to say. The morning of the interview, I woke up before the alarm. Not out of nerves, just habit. My body had memorized the rhythm of bracing itself. I dressed in a navy sheath dress. Simple, clean lines. No brand name logos, no embellishments. I wore flats. I always did. Joran met me outside the studio. He didn't offer advice or remind me to smile. He just opened the door for me and rested a hand on my back for half a second as I stepped inside. It was enough. The producer led me to a small green room where someone dabbed powder on my forehead. I let her. She didn't ask many questions, just smiled like she knew not to. Then came the lights, the chair, the countdown. The anchor smiled wide. "Thank you for joining us today, Serena." I nodded. "Thank you for having me." "Let's start simple," she said. "Why now?" I looked straight into the camera. Because sometimes silence isn't quiet. It's strategy, it's survival, and eventually, it's strength. She leaned in, intrigued. "Was there ever a moment when you thought, I should just walk away?" "More than once," I said, but I realized, if I walked away without showing people what really happened, someone else would be next. The rest of the interview moved gently. She didn't press too hard. I didn't dramatize. We talked about boundaries, respect, how cruelty looks polite when dressed in corporate tone, how family can fail you in slow, unspoken ways. When it ended, I stood, thanked her, and walked off set. Duran was waiting near the door. He didn't speak, just pulled me in, one arm over my shoulder. It wasn't for show. It wasn't for the cameras. It was for me. That afternoon, the network posted a clip from the interview to their social channels. Within hours, the same video that had once labeled me trailer trash was circulating again. But this time, under a new title, "This is what holding back looks like." Comments flooded in. She didn't break. She bent, observed, and then stood up straighter. She said what we've all felt, and she did it without raising her voice. At home, I made tea. Sat on the rooftop of my building, feet propped on the railing, the city lights rising like breath. I opened the small notebook I kept by the window. On the cover, things I couldn't say. I flipped past the pages, some filled, some empty, and stopped at the last one. I didn't read it. I just tore it out and let the paper float into the wind. The skyline swallowed it whole. The phone buzzed on the table beside me. I didn't check it. Not right away. Some names will never be spoken again. And some stories don't need to be retold, because they've already been heard, finally.